Gas station confrontation gets turned upside down. The chaotic situation that ended with a woman's SUV on its roof in the middle of the street in Forest Park. It was all caught on camera. An argument. A man dragged and a flipped over SUV, and now a woman in that SUV is charged. Tia Ewing has a disturbing situation all around. I guess the good thing is nobody was hurt in this.
It's wild, and Forest Park police tell us this video you're about to see helped them piece together exactly what happened, and now a female is in custody.
On my baby! On my baby! Y'all better go ahead!
This wild video was recorded after an argument started at Jackson Boulevard and Harlem Avenue at the Thornton's gas station Sunday after 3. Jay Mills recorded it all.
Because they was like, they started throwing cups and balls. I'm like, it's for the escalate.
He was with his family, and they say the woman behind the wheel of the Ford SUV started hurling homophobic and racial slurs at the two women.
On my baby hit it! On my baby hit it!
Calling them the N-word.
Hit it! On my baby hit it! On my baby hit it! Hit it! I did! On my kids, anything for the movie! Anything for the movie! I'm gonna try to get this right out of it! Hey, where y'all come? Where y'all got? Where y'all got? Where y'all got? Ready? Damn! She flipped the whole truck. Yeah! You dumbass bitch! You dumbass bitch! Get that. Hey, we got one, baby. Hey, we got one. Hey, we got one. Hold up. She just tweaked. What's your dumb ass kick in? You finna go your dumb ass to jail over here. With your black racist ass, bitch. And you almost just hit my motherfucking car with my kids in it. Lucky, mama, you ain't just hit it, because I be beating your dumb ass.
Shocking video. An NYPD officer assaulted in the Bronx yesterday afternoon, hit in the head with a bottle in the Kingsbridge section. The officer was conducting a smoke shop inspection when the suspect, 45-year-old Jose Garcia, walked up behind her and hit her in the back of the head with the bottle. He was quickly arrested. Garcia is charged now with a series of crimes, including assault.
Men are under arrest in the Dominican Republic, charged with the deadly mugging of a 9-year-old boy from the Bronx. The boy and his family were visiting the island for spring break, and when they were targeted by thieves a short time after landing at the airport and taking a car to their final destination. Eyewitness News reporter Lauren Glassberg live in the newsroom with more. Lauren.
David, that little boy, Giozer Luis Feliz from the Bronx, touched down in Santiago with his father on Wednesday, but just 30 minutes after landing, their trip took a very violent turn. Giozer and his father took a flight from Kennedy Airport on Wednesday with spring break, and they were headed to see family in the Dominican Republic. A family friend picked them up at the airport and drove them from the Cibao Airport. But moments into that drive, police say their SUV was followed by another car with 5 men inside who tried to get the SUV to stop. And when it didn't, those men unleashed a hail of bullets. A 9-year-old Giozer was shot in the head. He was rushed to the hospital and died during emergency surgery. The attackers sped away from the scene, but police caught up with them, and they are now all in custody. And police say they confessed to the shooting. They're due in court later today. The youngest suspect is 18 years old. Right now, preparations are underway to transport the child's body back to the United States. His heartbroken father still in the Dominican Republic, trying to get answered.
A case of child abuse in the Bronx. Authorities say 2 siblings were pistol whipped, handcuffed, hit with a wooden bat, and may have been locked in their apartment for months. One person is under arrest right now. Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis is live in the Bronx with the developing details. Marcus?
And Shirley, according to police, the victims were under the foster care of the suspect's mother, but she died recently, and that's when this alleged abuse began. Now, this is a picture of a gun that police say was recovered in that apartment, allegedly used to pistol whip the children. The victims telling police that they were subjected to horrific abuse, allegedly by 34-year-old Michael Ramos. Police were called to the Eastchester Gardens public housing complex via a 911 call. Police say Ramos did not let the children leave the apartment and that both showed signs of physical abuse. The boy in particular had bruising to the face. Now, according to neighbors, The 14-year-old girl and the 12-year-old boy are siblings, and they were foster children of Ramos's mother, who died in December. According to a friend of the suspect, the kids were homeschooled. He claims he was unaware there was anything wrong.
They have a PlayStation. They usually play the game. They're usually in the back, just doing their own thing. But like this is something like totally like I was not expecting to see.
Well, Ramos was taken into custody yesterday. He is now facing charges and awaiting arraignment this afternoon in Bronx.
Miraculous discovery in the nick of time. In January of 2022, 3 people scouring through the dumpster discovered a newborn baby boy tossed out in the trash. They heard something whimpering and opened the bag to see what was inside. He had been there for 5 hours with temps near freezing. The woman grabbed the baby, holding him close as they called 911 for help.
911, where's your emergency? We just found the baby in the trash.
Is it breathing?
Yes, ma'am. He still got his umbilical cord. He's whimpering. He was not crying, actually.
Surveillance video not only captured the rescue, but the moment when the mother drove up to throw him away. That woman, prosecutors in New Mexico say, was 18-year-old Alexis Avila.
Do you understand how your actions affected the baby's lives?
Yes.
And what do you think of that?
That hurts. That's something that he's never going to forget. That's something that's going to live with him for the rest of his life, as well as myself.
She took the stand in her own criminal trial this past April. TV station KOB was in the courtroom. Avila testified that she blacked out after delivering the baby. She did not remember what happened for several hours until she left the police station after being questioned, according to KOB.
Would the defendant please rise?
She was found guilty of attempted murder and child abuse. During the trial, the father of the baby said the child has a heart murmur and asthma, but otherwise doing well, KOB reports.
Inflicted wounds. Our Marissa Sulik has new details from sources close to this investigation. Marissa, this is an awful story that you can continue to follow for us here.
It is terrible, Lauren. And those sources say Ann Jordan was operating an illegal daycare. She didn't have a license and was caring for 7 kids that were not her own. And I spoke with a woman who saw parents running Monday afternoon to make sure their kids were alive.
The Ivana Lexington Apartments is where Charlene Wagner lives, and Monday afternoon, she saw a scene she will never forget.
And there was about 4 cop cars. We weren't exactly sure what was happening.
Moments later, she says she saw people and babies sobbing.
And then I saw parents coming down the stairs, like rushing down the stairs, holding their baby, and they were crying. And then I remember seeing a man get out of his car and just run up the stairs. I mean, it was missing 2 or 3 steps at a time just to get up there. And he came down with his child, but he was just like, you could see the fear in these parents' faces.
Metro Police say Ann Jordan was watching 7 kids under 16 months. They say 6 kids are okay, but 1 baby died. Police say there were no obvious injuries or medical issues.
It's just devastating. I mean, in anything, like even if an accident or, my first thought was, maybe something, just the baby died and she freaked out and got scared and ran. But you don't know, only she knows.
Right now, Youth Services is investigating, and Metro Police detectives will interview Jordan, but all Wagner can picture is what happened behind these walls days ago.
Just thinking of babies sitting there in their diapers and screaming.
Was an infant less than 6 months old, we're told, who died.
We've heard on the news that they have been charged with misdemeanors, and it's just really disheartening.
A deadly trend with innocent victims. Carjackings are turning into car crashes.
One of the most recent incidents left a 6-month-old baby dead.
Nate Rogers is live with more. Nate.
Yeah, that's right. I'm Corey and Don. The victims in this crash, in fact, were a mother and her 3 children. One of the children was an infant less than 6 months old, we're told, who died as a result. We spoke to an aunt today who described the family's pain as unbearable. 6 months old, and now a cherished memory.
But he was like 6 months going on 26. He was just like the sweetest little boy. We would always dance. He loved to dance.
Sunday around 5 p.m., the family inside the silver pickup truck then struck by the stolen Hyundai Sonata, according to police. The truck then head on into this large tree at Costner in Washington.
Truly the biggest nightmare.
The car seat still visible in the wreckage. Neighbors rushing to the scene to render aid. Christian Uvidia, his mother, and 2 older sisters all rushed to the hospital in serious to critical condition.
I think a lot of it too, they've kind of blocked out just from the trauma.
The 6-month-old fought to stay alive for 3 days.
He suffered from a fractured skull, which caused his brain to swell and bleed, eventually causing him to go into a coma and then later passing away.
The offending vehicle crashed into a light pole. Police later arresting a 14 and 17-year-old, both charged with misdemeanors, criminal trespass to a vehicle. Family now in deep pain, working to make funeral arrangements for a kid whose smile and infectious laugh will forever be missed.
This is for you.
Ring video captures a homeowner's quick thinking during an attempted armed robbery at their front door. The video was taken at about 9:45 a.m. on Friday, April 14th. It shows a suspect approach the front door of a home in East Haven, Connecticut, dressed as a delivery driver with a package. When someone comes to answer the door, the suspect keeps up the act, saying the package may be for them.
I don't know if this is for you.
Video then shows the suspect rush the homeowner before being pushed back out of the doorway. The suspect can be seen in the video holding a gun. After that, he runs off to a nearby vehicle that quickly speeds away. About an hour after the attempted robbery and home invasion, the East Haven Police Department posted pictures of the suspect on its Facebook page, asking for the public's help identifying him. Investigators say a series of tips led them to 37-year-old Xavier Arturo, the man they say is seen on the video. Officials also identified the getaway driver as 26-year-old Jean Carrasquillo Torres. Investigators say the pair hacked a plan for a home invasion where they would use zip ties to restrain the people inside the home while robbing them. Officials say the pair planned a second home invasion about an hour north in the city of Manchester. After executing a search warrant, investigators found more than 1 kilogram of fentanyl and, quote, items commonly used in the operation of a drug factory. Both suspects were arrested and now face multiple charges stemming from both the narcotics recovered and the attempted robbery.
Drama outside a New York courthouse as the man accused in a deadly road rage attack faces a judge. We'll start there at 4 o'clock. Hello, everyone. I'm David Ushery.
And I'm Natalie Pascarella. On Long Island, a man now facing murder charges in that deadly road rage beating. We're now getting our first look at the victim. This is 54-year-old David McKenzie. Today, emotions, as you saw, boiling over outside of court as the alleged attacker faced a judge for the first time. News 4's Pacey Chang live in Baldwin with more. Pacey.
Natalie, police arrested 26-year-old Patrick Destin, and they say the motive for this brutal beating was pure road rage. Destin was upset that a used car that he had just purchased, was involved in a car accident with the victim, David McKenzie, and he blamed him for the accident, even though police say it wasn't the victim's fault, causing him to stomp the victim repeatedly in the head, kick him until he died.
I lost my son for nothing at all. It shouldn't be.
Herlene McKenzie, devastated and in mourning over the senseless death of her son, David.
Hard-working family man.
Police say David McKenzie was driving home Saturday night around 10:50. He was feet from his house when he got into a car crash with 26-year-old Patrick Destin. Police say it was Destin's fault.
He had run a stop sign and made a unsafe right turn without his headlights on and struck the side of Mr. McKenzie's van, who was going westbound.
And even though prosecutors say McKenzie told Destin he wouldn't call the police to report the accident, Destin was still irate.
The subject caught up to the victim, David McKenzie. He pushed him to the ground and began to violently punch him and stomp and kick him in the head and face area.
Mackenzie was declared dead shortly after. Destin and his girlfriend, Aisha Pitt, were arrested near the crash scene. Mackenzie's family is in mourning. They held each other for support just outside today's arraignment.
David was the type of person who would try to walk away. He hates trouble or get himself in any kind of confrontation with anyone. So I had figured that from the moment it happened, that's what he tried to do.
After the arraignment, tempers flared between the two families, with Destin's girlfriend seemingly angry. She was eventually arrested by court officers.
Arrest that brute
Destin
beast.
was not granted bail.
Iowa family hasn't been the same since they say a man entered their apartment in the middle of the night while they were all sleeping. Brittany Andrews says she, her husband, their 5 children, and her mother-in-law were home at the time.
My teenage son came home from work late that night and forgot to lock the door. My mother-in-law had been over visiting us that night, so she decided to stay the night and was asleep on our couch. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, she woke up yelling my husband's name and my name.
Andrews says her mother-in-law woke up to a stranger standing over her as she slept. The man was in the apartment for about 30 minutes before he startled her awake and ran out the door. He didn't physically hurt anyone or take anything, but Andrews says home surveillance cameras caught his unusual behavior.
He drank out of a cup that was on the counter that was someone else's drink. Kind of mingled around her kitchen quite a bit. He got on my mother-in-law's phone multiple times, had it in his pocket, set it down. It appears that he was like taking pictures of her while she was sleeping at some point. He put on a pair of socks that were on a clean laundry that was waiting for us to be put away that was on the kitchen counter that night.
Andrews says she posted the bizarre video to a community Facebook page, and the next day, the man turned himself in. She says police told her he claimed he was visiting a friend in the building, became intoxicated, and got lost trying to find his way back to his friend's apartment. More than a week later, she says the family is shaken by the incident. Her kids refuse to be home without their parents, and her mother-in-law hasn't had a good night's sleep since it happened.
She said she wakes up multiple times during the night. I've experienced the same thing, waking up multiple times during the night. Even our dog is more alert throughout the night and barks at things that she normally wouldn't. And yeah, I feel like everybody in our household is pretty affected.
Kidnapped right off the street.
Take a look at these surveillance photos. First, you see a man approaching the victim with his arms raised. Then he's captured on camera carrying the woman away. Cops say he put her into a Toyota minivan, this one, and then took off. It happened at Avenue W and Stillwell Avenue in Gravesend, Brooklyn early yesterday morning. The victim is in her 20s with long hair, wearing a striped shirt, blue skirt, and white sneakers.
Chilling shootings in America, prompted by mistakes, from a driveway to a grocery store parking lot now. Tonight, the latest incident outside Austin, Texas. In this parking lot right here, authorities say a man shot and wounded 2 members of an elite cheerleading squad after one of the cheerleaders got into his car by mistake, thinking it was hers. One of those cheerleaders, Peyton Washington, is in the ICU tonight. And it comes after the case in upstate New York, northeast of Albany. 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis was shot and killed when the car she was in pulled into the wrong driveway. Tonight, that homeowner in court as well, described as hot-tempered, her family emotional, amid the larger questions here across several states after a series of troubling shootings that all began with mistakes from New York to Texas tonight. Here's ABC's Maria Villarreal leading us off.
Tonight, in upstate New York, in a small rural area outside Albany, this man appearing in court accused of shooting a 20-year-old woman after the car she was riding in pulled into his driveway by mistake. Homeowner Kevin Monahan charged with second-degree murder. A judge today ordering the 65-year-old to be held without bail. Authorities say 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis and 3 friends were riding in that car, Monahan firing at them as they tried to pull away, killing Gillis.
Kaylin deserves to have her story told, and what a beautiful person she was, and how many people loved her.
The deadly shooting raising questions across the country tonight, and it comes as a star high school cheerleader is in a Texas ICU after being shot when a friend mistook a stranger's car for one of their own. According to police, it happened after midnight Tuesday in a grocery store parking lot just outside of Austin. Peyton Washington, Heather Roth, and 2 other members of the Woodlands Elite Cheer Company were heading home from practice when Roth says she tried to get into a car she thought belonged to her and saw a man inside. She quickly went back to her friend's car, but the man walked over as Roth tried to apologize.
Threw his hands up and then he pulled out a gun. And then he just started shooting at all of us.
Roth was grazed by a bullet in the gunfire. Washington suffered serious injuries and was taken to a hospital. Police say the suspected gunman, Pedro Rodriguez, is now in custody. David, the suspect in that upstate New York case is now facing charges of second-degree murder. And back here in Texas, in that cheerleader case, the alleged gunman is in jail right now. He's facing a $500,000 bond and charges of deadly conduct. David?
Oh, this really troubling Maria Villarreal leading us off tonight. Maria, thank you.